myself. What's up, my friends? However, thank you so much for doing time. So completing what is the middle of the what is eventually going to be the Boondock Saints trilogy. We hope someday soon to get an official notification that Part 3 is going to be coming to our big screens. Here to break down with my head or life mate Jeremy, one of the great films of what? Well, this was 2009, so I guess one of the only real great films came out in the early 2000s. Wasn't a whole lot of great ones, but I mean, there were some good ones. This wasn't bad. But yeah, let's obviously we're talking about Boondock Saints with my head or life mate Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Now listen, I'm not gonna let you start bashing on the fucking early 2000s and the 2010s now, just because you want to go for the 90s.
Different decade, different kinds of movies. There were some ups and downs. there were some ups and downs.
Early 2000s were a little rough, but we got through them. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm excited for this, and honestly, it's like I've been saying with The Last of Us. If there's a part 3 on the way, I'll try to reserve a little judgment and then look at this as a complete, or at least in the sense of there could be a trilogy in the works here, and I can maybe, because honestly, this movie, I'm like, it's not the same as the first. It's a little more polished, a little more in depth, which isn't a bad thing. But I don't know. I'm in the camp that I'm like, I'm not exactly as big of a fan as this one as I am the first one. But
it's definitely different. This was a much bigger budget feel for sure.
Yeah.
The first one felt like an independent movie, like it was small budget. This one, it was only $2 million more than the last one, which is not. I mean, I say that I throw that number around like $2 million isn't a lot of money to me and you, but in movie terms, the difference between an $8 million budget and a $6 million budget is not that vast. It's really just about how you put it all together. And again, this is Troy Duffy's brainchild, so he still made a good movie. I like it a lot. I like it about as much as the first one. Not the same feeling, but obviously we were talking about Boondock Saints II, All Saints Day. It is the 2009 American vigilante action thriller film written and directed by Troy Duffy, based on a story by Duffy and his brother Taylor. This is a sequel to the Boondock Saints from 1999. The film stars Sean Patrick Flanery, Norman Reedus, Clifton Collins Jr., Julie Benz, Peter Fonda, and Billy Connolly. This is set 8 years after the events of the first film, and it follows Irish fraternal twin brothers Connor and Murphy MacManus, played by Flanery and Reedus, who are living a quiet life in Ireland with their father Noah, formerly known as El Duce, played by Connolly. However, when an assassin frames the twins for the murder of a Catholic priest, they return to Boston and join forces with Mexican underground fighter Romeo, played by Clifton Collins Jr., and FBI Special Agent Eunice Bloom, played by Benz, a former protégée of Paul Smecker from the first film. Boondock Saints II All Saints Day had its world premiere in Boston on October 19th of 2009 and was theatrically released in the United States on December 11th of that year. Despite negative reviews from critics, the film was a modest success at the box office, grossing $10.6 million against its $8 million budget. A sequel is currently in development with Duffy, Flanery, and Reedus expected to return. The film was barely profitable, making just over $10 million against its $8 million budget. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the film received 23% approval rating based on 43 reviews, with a weighted average of about 4.1 out of 10, with the site's consensus review reading, quote, "The sequel to the cult favorite The Boondock Saints is more of the same. Unoriginal, absurd, violent, over the top, and occasionally mean-spirited." I'm not a big fan of that consensus review. I don't know, Jeremy, give me your thoughts real quick. Your quick thoughts on Boondock Saints 2.
I don't know about mean-spirited, but it's still, if I don't want to say it's like a niche movie series, but I mean, it's got the cult following status, so it's kind of like if you're in the camp, you're in the camp, and if you like it, you do like it. And I hate to say that if it's something that it's the same, but everyone complains, oh, it's the same, or if it's different, and like, oh, it's too different. It's not like the original. It's like you can't please everybody, and you're damned if you do or if you don't. So honestly, it's still got some of the same kind of, I would call it charm, like that the first one had. That it had a kind of over the top, just ridiculous Tarantino style like premise, and it kind of keeps that up. And I think the thing that I thought was the coolest part was I'm like, look, if you're going to trade out some Beretta 9s for some Desert Eagles, why not? I mean, you got to, like, what do I always say in a sequel? You got to go bigger. So trading some 9mm for some 50 AEs and, you know, go to town, Boston town, that is. If you're going to do a sequel, I mean, I don't know how else you'd really do it. I mean, Copycat Killer is not really a new type of story, but it works. And if anything was gonna, I think like Billy Connolly said, he's like, well, what's the worst part is that this worked. Like they're already on the way back to Boston because they're not just gonna let this slide. And yeah, it's still a fun movie.
Yeah, I don't get some of the hate that this movie gets. It's bare minimum. And I think the meanest thing that I could say about the movie is it is pretty much exactly the same as the first. I mean, there's some things that are different. There's an actual real plot rather than just general vigilantism. Like these guys get the spur up their ass to go kill mobsters and stuff. I mean, that was one thing. There is a dedicated thing that's happening between the antagonist and the protagonist in this movie, which is not something that happened really in the first film. But you sprinkle in a little bit of the backdrop of the dad story. I think it's a more complete story. Not quite the same in that it was a bit more produced, but I don't think it was so much more produced that, I mentioned a while back, you had the Blair Witch Project and you had the Blair Witch Book of Shadows. You had Blair Witch, which was grainy and raw and great independent filmmaking. Then you had Book of Shadows where they gave it a big budget. They tried to put some young hot actors in it, tried to make a real movie out of it, and it kind of ruined the whole effect. You couldn't capture that same effect. I don't think that this movie was overproduced at all. I think Duffy knew to kind of stay in a lane, to stay in this bubble that he had created for these characters in this world in Boston. And by not overproducing it, I think he kept the movie grounded in what it is. So
I'm glad Tex isn't here to hear me say it, because I mean, I'm sure he would agree that if you took the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and then you looked at Texas Chainsaw 2, it's the same thing. It's this lightning in a bottle, just really cool, just gritty, just grainy. It feels just disgusting. This, over the top, well, for the time, I guess, but over the top kind of movie. And then you have this because it became successful. And I mean, of course you'd want to make more, but then you have this overblown, over the top, just ridiculous. Like you just go right off the fucking rails and you miss the track completely. And I'm like, maybe that wasn't the best idea, So it can be taken too far, and I agree. I don't think it went, it didn't really get out of its lane, like you said. It's still within this world that it's set up in the first movie.
Yeah, the words that this person used in this consensus review, it says unoriginal, which I'm like, well, for one, it's a sequel. I don't know how much originality you want from a sequel. I mean, you're dealing with characters you've already dealt with before, in a setting you've already dealt with before, with the same basic premises you've already dealt with before. I mean, whatever. Absurd? Yeah, every action movie is a bit absurd. It's like Die Hard, as good as that movie is, as much as well beloved as it is by action movie fans everywhere, have to admit that movie's a little absurd. I mean, let's be fair.
I know. Everyone wants to be a rope-toting Charlie Bronson wannabe, but that isn't true.
Violent. Yeah, it's a vigilante crime movie. It's a mob movie. It's about violent, over the top. Yeah, it's supposed to be. It kind of walks the line between a little bit real and cartoonish, but it stays on the line on the side of the line a little bit real. So yeah, over the top. Yeah, that's what it's about. I mean, like the whole scene at the Prudential Building where they're swinging like Tarzan or like John McClane.
That's what I was thinking of.
From the outside, they're shooting through the window. It's like, that over the topness is one of the things that makes those action sequences and the gunfights fun, and occasionally mean spirited. I don't know what this person means by that. That doesn't make any sense to me because that when they first meet Romeo and Romeo figures out who they are, they play it's a prank. It's kind of I wouldn't have played that kind of prank, but it's a prank by putting a gun to his head and saying the prayer, and then the gun clicks. He's like, "Oops, sorry, never mind." You'll have to call it back later. But
someone didn't obviously see the first movie. They did the same thing to Rocco. So,
and Rocco was their best friend. I mean,
right?
So that's the moment where they accept him kind of into the gang, so to speak. But I don't understand some of the hate. I mean, like I said, at its core, this is essentially the same movie. It's just a little more well produced. And there's a clear good guy and bad guy, or protagonist and antagonist in this movie, where the first one, just the situations presented themselves and it kind of happened the way it did. It was all situational. Yeah, so I don't really get it, but I mean, let's go ahead and talk about the cast. Obviously, a few additions to this movie, but the main three people come back in this movie with a few big additions. Obviously the first three, Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flanery, and Billy Connolly, they were going to be part of this movie in some way, shape, or form. And obviously the three cops as well, but there were some additions to the movie. When you think of the cast of the additions, did the additions make this movie a little bit better? Did it work for the story?
I would say so, because as I, again, previously mentioned, if you do a sequel, you kind of want to, you want to expand, you want to get bigger. So it's, I hate to, this is right before Walking Dead as well for Norman Reedus. This is the year before that. And one thing I always hear people complain about The Walking Dead is like, oh, the cast is too big. I'm like, it is massive. I mean, you're talking about 3 different communities here. I'm like, yes, but so I mean, it's not anything ridiculous. I mean, you got a different FBI agent coming in, and you still got the same 3 cops. I mean, if we can appreciate for a second that we have all of the same people all back in this movie, like,
oh yeah,
that's what's amazing. I'm like, that's what keeps that charm to it, that we still got Duffy, Greenlee, and I'm just gonna call him Dolly because I'm not gonna pronounce it right either. I'll let Willem Dafoe be the first one who ever got it right, and he'll be the last. And then you get Eunice Bloom, who I think speaks for herself. I don't. If you just want to leave that there for a minute, I'm sure no one will object. Yeah, because when you do, I mean, we kind of already spoiled it, but spoiler alert. I mean, obviously, as an uncredited role, Agent Paul Smecker, played by Willem Dafoe, is in this movie. But I mean, if you're gonna have someone replace him, they better be damn good. And honestly, she knocks it out of the fucking park. Yeah, right there. Like, that's a hell of an ending right there. And again, with the way it ends, come on, you got to give us a 3. You got to send it home. Like, I need that movie, man. They're in jail. Get them out of jail. They're just kind of they kind of became their Suicide Squad, really. They're in jail, and Smecker's like, all right, I want them out. I want them back to work, out in the streets. Let's fucking do this. Let's go. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for that. If I'm picking a person, I think this time I would have picked Greenlee, because honestly, he's still the same goofball, but I'm like, I think he had a little bit more in this movie. And spoiler, I was actually upset when he died. That was some like Departed type, just boom, he was dead. I was like, whoa.
I remember the first time I watched this movie, that was, I mean, because none of this movie really shocked me until I got to that point, and I was like, I was like, holy shit. I was like, no way.
I get it. Like, shit. Like, I was, no. Like, you don't just do shit like that. Man, like, I was actually upset about it. I'm like, come on. Yeah, he's an idiot. He's a goofball. And I mean, if someone like Eunice Bloom did that to me too, I don't know what else he could have done, man. But, yeah, that or, I will always love the sequence where it's not like it's really explained what it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be like some epiphanous dream or some weird limbo or afterlife, but the scene with Rocco, I mean, again, how do you have a Boondock Saints movie without Rocco? We know he died, but that scene where he's just basically hyping up the 2 brothers. I mean, how do you not? I could say just about any line from that, and it will still make me laugh. Because again, if Rocco's going to tell you about, or all 3 of us, it's hard men doing hard shit, and it gives them a hard on, but not like in a gay way though.
Not like in a gay way.
Yeah,
I love that scene though, because the epiphany scene from the first movie when they're laying in bed and they have, I don't know, they're politically possessed or whatever, which I thought was a little bit overdone, but I mean, it worked for the movie. That the scene with Rocco kind of served as something similar. It's that kick in the pants to get, like, it's, I talked about how in a lot of the Marvel TV shows, there's that one episode that kind of puts all the pieces in place for the final push. You think a lot doesn't happen, you think it's not important, but it really is those last couple small piece moves It's that real deep breath you take before you go balls deep into whatever the conclusion's gonna be. And that's kind of what that scene did in this movie. It was like the guys had gone through that point, and there was this last little bit of wisdom that they couldn't get from their dad, they couldn't get from anybody. It's their inner voice talking to them kind of through that Rocco dream sequence. That's kind of what that part did for me. It was kind of like the epiphany scene from the first movie.
It's cool too that it's like and I think that is not long after Greenlee dies. I mean, in that scene, you can see like Rocco at the bar. You see the cat walk by, and it ends with Greenlee like skating up on the skating rink and says like thanks for coming out. Bah! Hits the fucking hockey puck, right? So yeah, it's kind of a cool that each like what Rocco's point was. He's like, I don't regret this, and you guys shouldn't either. No matter what, I was glad I was a part of it, and I would have done it all over again. And he's like, don't let it be for nothing. I mean, those were his dying words too. He's like, you don't ever stop. You get out of here and you keep going. And I'm like, damn, dude. Like, and even in this weird limbo epiphany dream thing, he still wholeheartedly believes that. And it's as corny or cheesy as it sounds. It's like, don't really think about it, but it's like, that's what they needed to hear. And they're like, all right, yeah, we're going to fucking war. Let's do it.
Yeah, lost in some of the violence and the fact that they're just whacking down bad guys like crazy is the fact that they are the good guys here. There's not a big difference between this and like Charles Bronson's Death Wish movie from the 70s. Yeah, it's like Bronson's doing a bad thing, but think about what he's been through. It's like in the original, I think his daughter was killed or badly named or whatever, and he's a regular guy who just kind of like he's like, look, I'm getting tired of this. I want to do something about it myself. That's not a big difference between Bronson's character in that movie and the brothers in this movie. They're working in a meatpacking plant, dealing with Dot Jones, or whatever her name is, getting mad about the whole rule of thumb thing in the first movie, slapping each other around in cold big cuts of beef, and playing jokes with each other. They're just guys that are just out trying to live life, trying to get through every day, one after the other.
Is it?
And this situation puts them where they're at, and they kind of hit the same thing that Charles Bronson character does. They're just like, I'm done with this shit. Why am I not? Somebody used to protect my streets in a way that the law doesn't allow cops to do it, or that some people can't. Same thing.
Isn't the Punisher kind of the same way? Like, yeah, he kills people, but I mean, he kind of had a rough time there, So.
Oh yeah, I mean, Punisher's a much deeper character. I mean, especially when you talk about the stuff they did with Marvel and the stuff like that. PTSD, having served, blah blah blah. I think there's much more character development there. But I mean, but sometimes simple is the best way to do it. These were just guys living their day-to-day lives, and they kind of occurred to them. It's like, why aren't I doing something about this? Why aren't I protecting this place that means the world to me? And they just decide one day, well, if I got to pick up a gun to defend my place, that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not very different. For me, obviously, look, let's not miss the fact that in this one scene that Willem Dafoe is in right before the credits,
man,
that he kind of blows the doors off the place. I mean,
yeah.
Look, okay, for one, it's Willem Dafoe. He's one of those actors where all I have to do is say his name, and we're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be good. If you haven't seen what he's doing yet, we're pretty confident it's going to be good. But next, it's the character that we know from the last movie that we were so entertained by, the whole scene with him laying in bed, calling the guy, the homosexual slur, and just kind of his mannerisms and all that. But in this one scene, one of the things I noticed, it's every now and again when you're watching a movie, you can tell when an actor's really having fun with a scene. Like he really wants to be there. This was vintage Willem Dafoe. I mean, he was digging every minute of the shot. I know he was. And when a guy because I can tell the smile on his face, it wasn't an acting smile. He was like, I really love being here right now. This is some fun shit. I love being here, doing what Duffy wants to do, hanging out with the guys. My dialogue with Eunice Bloom, that whole scene he was having so much fun. The one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit about one of the new additions is the assassin guy. I feel like he should have done more in the movie. I mean, I really feel like he should have been in at least more of the action scenes, because they start to build him up a little, and then he becomes really irrelevant really fast. Now, don't get me wrong, the scene where him and Billy Connolly are having the duel is really cool. It was very tense, and it's the kind of scene that I like in a movie. But it seems like there was so much about him that I was kind of looking at it. And I'm like, I feel like he could do more with this role, but they're just kind of not letting him. It feels like he's fodder, and I felt like a lot of his opportunity with that character was a bit wasted. You know what I mean? I mean, do you agree? Is there more they could have been done with him, or was it just enough for you?
I mean, he is the whole plot device catalyst for getting them to come back in the first place. So I kind of get that he is just this little twat of a short king who's like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I didn't really know why, because, I mean, you are kind of playing with fire if you didn't think they were going to come back. But I don't know, maybe if he had a little bit more of a connection, because again, that's the, you know, starting them down the path of getting back to Boston, and then it blows up into this whole thing. Again, they discover all this, you know, once they get there. But I don't know, maybe there should have been a little more to it. I get what his character's for, and it was, again, I don't know how I would have written a sequel, but if that's how you got them to come back and you're like, okay, well, the movie can happen now, I'm kind of fine with it. And yeah, that scene where they're playing like a weird 2-player Russian, well, not 2-player, but you know, I mean, 2-player Russian roulette, 2 guns.
1v1.
Yeah.
One in the chamber. 1v1, one in the chamber.
You're 1v1 right now. Yeah, that's because I love how just calm Billy Connolly is. I love that line where he's got a gun like to this guy, and they're to each other's faces. He's like, and I get the boys' you know, point here where they got guns to the guy's like neck too, and they're like, no matter how this works out, you still die. And then he like calms them down, like he's their weird like voice of reason. He's like, hey guys, daddy's working. I'm like, Jesus, that's intense. I don't know. If we didn't have that, I guess we wouldn't have John Bender for some reason. But and again, we always get any chance to bring back the rope. And again, now we're toting Desert Eagles, which I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's iconic, the when the 9 mils go off. But that thud that those fucking those Desert Eagles make, just there's something about that that's just crisp. And I know how guns work. I know that's not really what happens. I know they're still loud as shit. Don't come at me in the comments. Just enjoy the movie, okay?
Suppressors just suppress a little bit of the decibels. They don't suppress it all.
It's just a little bit, especially with a gun that big. It definitely is not doing shit. But that's still a hell of a sound that when they both go off.
Yeah, there's 2 more actors that I can't ignore here. One of them, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why Clifton Collins Jr. has not become like a leading man somehow.
Really.
He's been in so many good things. He first came to prominence in the movie The Last Castle with James Gandolfini and Robert Redford, and that's a really good movie. I mean, it sounds like an action movie, but it's really much more of a dramatic piece. He was in. I mean, he's been in a Star Trek movie. He was one of the Romulans in the first newer Star Trek movie that J.J. Abrams did. He led a TV show called was it The Event? I think it was. There was a really good show that only lasted for like a season and a half, and they canceled it. But he's been around for a long time, and he's been in some great stuff. I don't know why he hasn't taken the next step into leading something else bigger. Maybe he doesn't want to, but, you know, because some people kind of want to just they just want to be creators. They don't necessarily want to be the Brad Pitt. They want to be they don't want to be A-listers. They're just happy being involved. But he's been really good in almost everything that I've seen him in. I can't think of anything where he hasn't been good in it. You know what I mean? And he's got great range. And he's also done big dramatic pieces. Not Oz. What was he in? I forget the hell he was in. But he's been in a lot of like the really well-regarded dramatic shows. So I don't know. The other one, obviously, I mean, Fonda. Come on. I mean, name.
How do you
the name alone is epic. And while it is relatively short, and I can't quite compare it to this diner scene from Heat, but this scene right here, that's such great. Again, the dialogue delivery is fantastic.
The build up and the history between the two of them too.
And I mean, as his dad's explaining it all, it's like the moment where they walk in and they have that, and they're having this sit down. I was like, this moment right here, moments like this on camera is why I watch movies. I just love seeing the two guys. They're at opposite ends of every part of the situation. They both want each other dead. Obviously, over the course of the movie, you figure that out. But when you see them sit down and they have that face to face, it's so much better than a shootout. I mean, yes, the shootout happens, of course, but I mean, the back and forth, that emotional back and forth that goes on between the two. I was like, holy shit, these are two guys that have been around for a while. Look at the gray. these are guys that have been in front of the camera several times. They can deliver some good deep dialogue, and Troy Duffy's writing in this scene was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, such simple dialogue. It didn't have to be. He didn't have to write Shakespeare. He didn't have to make it too crazy. He just had to air it out between these two. And these two, both these characters being very simple men. The dialogue was very simple. It was pointed. It was poignant, and I thought it was a beautifully done scene. I mean, by far the best scene in this entire movie that doesn't involve guns. It was such a great scene. But I mean, for me, it's Clifton Collins Jr. I really wish that guy would. I really wish he'd have made it bigger somehow. But like I said, maybe he just didn't want to. Maybe he's content as being a creator. I don't know. That's just me.
Hilariously, actually, since I just mentioned the Punisher a minute ago, this is a deep cut, but in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Clifton Collins Jr. is actually in that movie for like a hot second, and he's with the guy who was the original Punisher. They play the vegan police, which is just the goofiest shit in the fucking world. Like, they bust in and they hold Brandon Routh at, I guess, finger point. They like lasers coming out of their fingers. It's the dumbest shit ever. And of course, Clifton Collins like reads out like all the stuff he's eating that's not vegan, just like with the most serious, but like it's so goofy, and he probably knows it. He doesn't even care. I love it. He's like, what? That's not vegan? And you hear the Punisher say, yeah, that's milk and eggs, bitch. Like with a finger like just pointed at Brandon Routh. I'm like, what even is this scene? But I don't care. It's just funny.
But let's move on to the plot now. And again, I think a much more cohesive, more involved plot that expanded things a lot more. There's a reason this time. It wasn't just random situations that these guys come across. They're drawn out by this murder of the priest early on in the film. There's definitely a clear line being drawn between the good guys and the bad guys in this film, where it was a little bit random in the last one. What do you think of the plot of the film? Was it better to have something that was a little bit deeper, a little bit more involved, or did you like kind of random, very basic, simple plot of the first film more?
Well, they work in their own respect. I mean, for the movie, just having the first movie, rather, having the setup of, that's what it has to do. It has to do with the legwork of setting things up, and just having things kind of like I said, just kind of falling into their laps. But I like that this one was a little more nuanced. It kind of had a path to it, and something that they did do right. It's like I didn't need it, but I wasn't mad that it happened. Was the backstory of the dad, like the build up to it, because I'm like, you built up this mythos of this guy in the first movie. It's like, when you first see him, you see like, some guy come over a radio and say like, all right, move him. And you see about like 30 shotguns all just rack, and they're all just like following this guy just like all the way down. They put him in a cage, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what is this dude's deal? Like, I don't need the backstory of Jaws, but like, I just know it's a terrifying shark that you see maybe like, I don't know, the last half hour of the movie. So kind of the same thing, but I'm not mad that they did go back and then they kind of showed the dad, getting to where he eventually ended up, which again, that scene with him and Fonda. So it was definitely worth the build up. And again, if you're going to make something that nuanced, I mean, the rest of the movie should follow suit, because it's not just going to be random and have this one good idea of a storyline. So a more put together movie is, definitely a good idea. Since again, we don't have as much setup. We just have some new characters to add, and the somewhat random violence, but That's what you get for shooting a priest, man. I mean, I'm not even overly religious, especially not Catholic, but I'm like, that's still a little messed up. That's some bad juju right there.
No, you don't do dirt in church. I mean, that's
that's some dirty shit right there.
That's the rule. You don't do dirt in church.
See, Rocco almost broke that rule too, man, and you almost got capped. So
yeah, they weren't very fond of Rocco doing it either. I thought the plot was pretty good. I like the fact that, look, because we didn't really get a lot of their father's character, a lot of Donnelly's character in the first movie until the end. Yeah, and so I mean, we get that big reveal that he's their dad, and that's great. And then the movie ends, and we're like, I feel like that just happened, and there wasn't a lot of exposition. So using this movie to kind of go into that background a little bit, examine how he became, because how he became what he was directly influences how the boys ended up where they're at.
Yeah.
There is this chain of occurrences that has led us to Connor and Murphy doing what they're doing. So it seems like it was by accident in the first film if you watch it, but there is some kind of predestined, the violence is obviously in their DNA and their heritage in a way. And I'm not just talking about their Irish like to get drunk and fight violence. I mean something a little more than that. But yeah, there is something about these guys that comes from a different place and comes from their father. So going through what he dealt with when he was younger, it made a lot of sense to examine that further in the movie. And you've got a guy like Billy Connolly anyway, who's a great actor, a great comedian, who's playing against type in this role anyway, because he was known for stand-up and doing the comedic stuff. So being a ruthless killer is kind of like, it was kind of like watching Leslie Nielsen in the 70s go from being a very dramatic, serious actor to doing something like airplane. Comedian. It was that kind of a shock that kind of made people step back and go, holy shit. And he's good at it. Just like Leslie Nielsen was so great at comedy. So it was great to examine that. The plot of with Louis with Peter Fonda's character, I thought was cool. I mean, my big problem with it, again, it kind of goes back to the assassin that he uses to kill the priest and lure the boys out. There was one too many pawns in this movie. It's one thing if Peter using the mob as a pawn to kind of draw the boys out made sense. The connection between them and Jacobetta, obviously, from having killed his father in the first movie. I mean, that kind of made sense, but there was one too many pawns that were taking up screen time in the first couple of acts. I didn't really need both the little mini assassin. We'll call him mini assassin because call little people. I don't know, but I want to call him a little person because he has guns. And I don't want to get in a gunfight with him. But So between the mini assassin and the Jacobetta family again, there was just one too many pawns in all this. I would have liked it to have been like the boys versus either the assassin or the boys versus the mob for the whole movie, and then like late in the third act is when there's some bombshell revelation that this guy Louis is the one that's actually involved in this whole thing. He's orchestrating the whole thing. That big reveal towards the end would have been more interesting. But I mean, that's the way I would have done it. I'm not saying that the movie was bad because of it. I'm just saying that there was one too many pawns in this movie. It kind of wasted a little bit of time. And this movie was over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you could have either cut about 15 minutes of the movie out and streamlined it a bit, or you could have given that time over to building that tension between the boys and the Jacobetta family, which there's already tension there, obviously, again, because the events of the first movie. But I feel like just having the mob be the pawns, and then you find out after they've wiped everybody out of the Prudential building in that killer-ass gunfight, that you find out it was actually somebody else, and that's the thing you have to go to. I love this scene.
Yeah.
Why he dressed her up as a cowboy in that scene, I have no idea, but it worked great for me.
I mean, it's just a still shot, but if you know, you know. I mean, that's I never expected to see them just fly in through the fucking window, and she's sitting there just fanning the revolver. They're just laying everybody out. It was awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, let's ask this question now. I mean, this is the second of 2 movies we've gotten so far. Which movie do you think was better, the first or the second one, and why?
Oh, do I say the political answer that they both are great in their own right and for what they're trying to do for the time?
Which is not wrong.
I'm like, they work. I forgot Doc was back, man. How do you go wrong with Doc? Like that's that scene right there when he's just trying so hard to not have his Tourette's just come right through, and they're just fucking with this poor old man. You know what? The second one does have its moments, and it's a good movie. It's a good sequel. But I mean, the thing is, I always watch. I watch the first one more frequently and more often. So I guess really my preference is for the first movie because it is just kind of, it is, like I said, it's that very Tarantino, just over the top, just, crazy shit just keeps happening in Boston. You know what I mean? And sure, I'll just believe that these two Irish brothers and their dipshit Italian friend go around trying to take care of everybody and Ron Jeremy, of all people. so like I said, I don't hate the second movie. I like that it expanded the world. I mean, I guess another movie that was in my head that I was thinking of was like John Wick. I'm like, the first John Wick is pretty well, it kill his dog and he then kills literally everyone else. And you do have a Russian mob involved, oddly enough. But then, I mean, honestly, that movie series then exploded into this big fucking world where you're like, oh, okay, so this is more involved. This has got some legs to it. So again, if there is a third and it just keeps expanding this world out, I'm not gonna be mad about it. I just, I want it to be done right. And again, I wouldn't want anyone else other than Troy Duffy being involved, and obviously Reedus, Flanery, and I mean, again, if you get everybody to come back again, that would be dope. And like you said with the foe, I mean, I think he had his back to you just see some guy on a pier just fishing, and then you hear him just say like, "So you coming?" And you're like, that voice, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like you're not ready for it, but you're like, "Oh shit, he's still here." And I love like you said, you can tell he's enjoying himself, and I love how she's like, "I was at your funeral, like you asshole," and he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't have worn that dress though. That was a little risque for me." But, I was like, "You son of a bitch!" He's still got it. Because I'm like, there's a setup there for, like I said before, them kind of being like a weird Suicide Squad duo for Defoe, and it's kind of, I don't know, kind of like your last line of defense when there's nothing else to, turn to. So, I'm curious to see what it brings. It's my long-winded answer for I like the first movie more, but I'm excited to see more. I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think overall I like the first movie more. It does have that independent feel. It was, I mean, like I said, this one was a little more produced, but not overproduced. That one, it was very simply, I mean, it was just a guy making a movie for the first time with Troy Duffy. There was not trying to make a blockbuster, just trying to make your own art, trying to make your movie. And I think that usually when you can do that, that's usually when you make something pretty special. I mean, it's when you try to make an Oscar bait film is when things go sideways. But this guy just wrote some great stuff. Obviously, I talk a lot about chemistry with actors on set. I mean, obviously you have the great chemistry going on. I mean, everybody in the first movie, in this movie by and large, they were perfectly cast. I don't understand why anybody would like the second one more, but the political answer is not wrong. These are both very good movies, just in different ways. This one was more of a Hollywood level production because by the time he's filming this movie, Boondock Saints, the first one had already kind of run its course. It had become the cult classic. It had become kind of the cultural thing. People were getting the tattoos in their hands and shit like that.
I still want the Celtic. I still want that Celtic cross, like right here. That would be sweet.
So it had become part of the cultural lexicon, but I mean, it's like I said, it managed to stay grounded. Although I still think the first one is a better film overall. Don't get me wrong, I like this film a lot. But I still do think the first one is better. But I mean, what do you think a third one? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, well, speaking of better, I mean, who ordered the whoop ass fajitas? Was that the best you could do? For a line? Was it?
I could change it. Let's see. That's the best I could do. I need her to say it. You got to say it in her sexy voice.
I don't even know if I could do that justice. Like that really the best you could do? They did like the most draw of Southern draws. I don't know if I can even do that. I'm from the Midwest. I don't even know if I could do that. I'll say y'all, but like, I'm not gonna walk in a room dressed as a fucking cowboy, just going. No,
How about that? Is that better?
Yeah, fucking hell, you said it.
Ding dong, motherfucker! Ding dong!
Shit, you even had the same guy from the first movie that gives them the guns in the first place. Like that dude's still back. Like, why not? You know what I mean? I mean, those I know Romeo hails just from a colorful people, but those guns were. Yeah, those guns were a choice, that's for sure. He might have seen one up close.
You know what? One of the things, when it comes down to comparing the first movie to the second movie, the comedy in this movie I thought was a lot better. There was more comedy in this movie. Eunice had some of the best lines. I mean, when she first rolls up on the scene of the first killing of the priest, her whole thing about we broke the fuck barrier.
Yeah, now that we've broken the fuck barrier.
that was her. I mean, she is taking the place of Paul Smecker in this movie, but she couldn't just go up there and be Paul Smecker. She kind of had to be herself at the same time. Yeah. And so she walks up there and she's in the stilettos, and she's a woman instead of a man.
Yeah.
So these rough and gruff Boston cops probably are thinking, I'm not going to take this woman shit. And of course, at this point, they have no idea who she really is anyway.
Yeah.
They don't understand that she was handpicked by Paul Smecker to kind of take over for him, and that she doesn't know anything about the boys. But when she rolls out there and gives that dialogue on breaking fuck barrier, I was like, that's an awesome way to take control of a situation.
See, that's how you girl boss. Like,
oh yeah,
that's like she. I mean, that was her walking in the locker room, and she just boom on the ground, and she let them know, like, "Hey, look, I'm not to be fucked with. You're not gonna walk over me here, okay? Like, I got this."
Yeah, I also love how she kind of like completes the whole thing. Like, she's like, "I'm so fucking smart. I make smart people feel like they are retarded."
Right.
Yeah, I remember the first time watching this movie, I was like, "Oh shit, she is not to be trifled with." Right. But yeah, there was some really great comedy throughout all this. I mean, playing the joke on the three cops when she finally lets them know that she's in on the whole thing. And
in the bar,
yeah.
You don't, right? You don't call. Because they were shitting their pants until that point, and they realized, oh, it's you guys again. Oh my god. Okay, good. We're all in on the same page here, because they were still freaking out because they probably thought they were going to get found because they helped them the first time like 8 years ago. But yeah, worked out.
Yeah, there was some really good comedy in this as well. There was a couple more things I wanted to point out. Off the top of my head.
I'm kind of mad
that right here.
Right.
My only problem with this scene is they telegraphed it really bad, because for like 2 or 3 minutes of screen time before this, they're drinking and having fun, and then you a really abrupt like jump cut to this scene. And it's a real tense stare down, and I'm like, I know this isn't serious, but I'm interested because I want to see what's going on. And they're like, "You're not going to get me this time."
Not this time, you little shit.
The scene plays out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense now." But yeah, that was great comedy as well. But
I wish I had a shirt of the line that I used, because I know there is one out there of just Connor that just says "fuck you, I know shit." Like, it's again that brotherly just bickering back and forth when they get to the crate and he like takes a taste. He's like, "Oh, that's heroin." He's like, "How do you know that?" He's like, "'Cause fuck you, I know shit." Like, don't worry about it. I know shit. Okay. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, there is some great comedy throughout this as well, which
and
is pretty good.
That's what I'm saying, because you don't have Rocco. Because I would say Rocco is kind of your comedic relief in the first movie for sure. So you don't have that really anymore. You have his scene, which again, one of the better scenes in the movie. But I think, Clifton Collins kind of gets, because he is kind of their, new Rocco, still has, some great beats himself, just being absolutely hilarious. Like watching him try to fucking navigate a forklift and not drop them somewhere he shouldn't. It's pretty great.
And you and I have both driven forklifts, so I mean, I was watching. I was like, it's really not that complicated.
It's really not, even if he's like trying to lie.
If you can drive that very colorful VW Bug all over fucking Boston, you can probably drive the forklift.
What? Nothing. You just no. Wait, what's wrong? Hey, you just come from a colorful people. That's all. God damn it!
Shut up. Romeo's crying.
Romeo's crying. You know what? To be honest, his pair of guns are actually still pretty cool.
They are pretty dope.
The gold and like platinum plated and like the Mexican flag on the grips. I mean, they are pretty cool.
I prefer the gunmetal black, but I mean, I wouldn't turn or like the carbon gray. But I wouldn't throw those guns.
Yeah, like
those are pretty dope weapons.
I like their guns. I wouldn't turn down like a silenced Beretta 9 or the silenced the Desert Eagles. But yeah, it's the cool thing is like they all have their own. I mean, that shot we have Eunice Bloom there with her like single action. I'm like, they all have guns that kind of make sense for their character, and it works. You know what I mean? Like they all kind of fit their own character. And I'm trying to. I remember what Billy Connolly had. I mean, he had he's one guy with 6 guns. So I mean, he's got just about fucking everything. He's a whole.
Well, he had a couple that looked like 38s, like 6
the little smaller one.
Yeah, smaller ones. I thought maybe there may have been a couple of 9s or 45s in there, mag fed, something automatic as well, and then some of the smaller ones. I mean, they're hard to get a look at. It's like I thought maybe they were Derringers, but I mean, those only have like 2 shots in them, so I doubt it. And then he walks around with the shotgun a lot too, especially in the first movie. So
yeah.
So yeah, he was packing some heat. But but I mean, we're at some point we're getting a third one. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know when. I'm sure Troy Duffy wants to do it. I'm sure Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flanery want to do it now anyway. I mean, maybe they didn't at one point, but I mean, they're supposedly in. So I mean, I've heard about this thing being in production went into production almost 2 years ago. But yet there are things that say Troy Duffy has been quoted fairly recently as saying it's going to go into production soon. Who the hell knows at this point if this movie has seen a second of actual camera time? But I mean, what do you think a third movie will look like? What would you do there?
I don't know. Like, I mean, you didn't lose. I think the one. Who's the only one who? Well, no, the dad died, right? Because Greenlee died in the bar. I don't know. I'm like, I wouldn't have expected, copycat killer killing Catholic priests, but I mean, it ended on them still being in jail, and I'm assuming they're gonna get back out. There might be, man, who's left? It's like the Indiana Jones thing. It's like, well, if you don't do Nazis, that doesn't really work, right? I don't know how many times we want to do like Russian mob or something, or another Yakoveta family member or something. I feel like now that Eunice is in on it, she's gonna have to be. I feel like she's gonna have to under like Willem Dafoe's. He's gonna be like the puppet master of this whole thing. Let it trickle down to them, and then they get the 2 brothers get these jobs to clean up Boston. Maybe it could end up being preventing a whole international mob war like they were worried about in the first movie. And also, when do you set this, right? Like, I mean, you're gonna have to have some sort of time jump because they are older. So now you're down to Dolly and Duffy, which sounds like a weird spinoff in itself. That would be this is the 2 of them, and then they get these weird dreams of fucking Greenlee with his onion bagel and cream cheese and coffee and shit. So I still feel like somehow you'd have to have Rocco involved. Again, I don't know how, just another epiphany or something. Or maybe do it with a dad. I don't know. The dad would be kind of cool, like as he's kind of this saintly presence over them. Like Mufasa in the sky or whatever the hell. You could just have him do that. He's still alive. I hate to almost be like, is he still alive? I hope to God he is. I think he is.
Billy Donnelly?
Billy Connolly?
Oh, yeah, he's still alive. He's relatively young, 80-something years old. I know he's been retired from comedy for a while, but yeah, he's still alive.
Oh yeah, he's 81. Okay. Shares health update as he admits being sick feels strange. Okay. I mean, you're 81, man. So yeah, I could see, like I said, I could see him having a kind of like the Rocco thing where he's, kind of their voice in their ear. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I know the one thing I want out of this movie is I don't want it to set up 12 more movies. I want this to be the end.
All right.
I like when I mean, even long-standing things, I like it when they have an end. One of the things I like about Avengers Endgame is there was no post-credit scene. It's like I know we all know there was going to be more, that they weren't just going to stop making Marvel movies, but that was the end of that piece of film history, of that particular part of the universe. So not having a post-credit scene was great. It felt like an ending. I want this movie to end. I don't want 12 more movies. I want whatever this is, I want it to end. I do not want them to die at the end of the movie. I want them to ride off into the sunset. Maybe not necessarily as heroes, but them to walk away from all this shit and to go live the normal lives, the kind of life that they can live. If it is herding sheep in Ireland or just, working to meet that new plant in Boston somewhere.
I did not know this. I clicked on that one thing. Apparently, Billy Connolly got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease about 10 years ago, actually.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Shit. Yeah, it said the comedian 81 was diagnosed with the degenerative condition 10 years ago. So, yeah, he's also diagnosed with prostate cancer the same day, but got the all clear. Okay, that's good. I was about to go down a really sad path. Like, oh, come on, no! Don't go, man. Don't go on me. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, he doesn't have to have like a big part in it. Like, just, again, his presence should still be there, obviously.
Yeah, the part of the question for a third one for me is like, what is the plot going to look like? Because like you just said, it can't just be the next Yakavetta up. You can't just be like whatever. It can't just be like copycat killers. That seems generic. I'm wondering. It seems to me like listening to Smecker talk to the girl at the end of the movie. He's like, we want to get him back out working. We want to grow. We want him to be international. Yeah, I kind of thought I was thinking about it. I was watching the movie yesterday, and I was like, I don't think that's what they would want to do. So it sounded to me like Smecker was getting ready to open up like an assassin squad, and I don't think the boys are assassins as much as they are protectors. Because I mean, it seems to me like they couldn't because in the first movie when they go out with Rocco and Rocco is pointing all these guys out, it's not like they're getting paid to do this.
No,
these guys are bad people that are soiling the streets of the town that they love, of their home. That's why they're doing it. That's the payoff. They're not getting 10 grand a head or anything like that, or 100 grand to kill this guy. They're doing it out of love and affection for their city. It seems like that's kind of what Paul Smecker is trying to build. Is he's trying to build an assassin squad? We're going to go around and now maybe I'm wrong because he doesn't specifically say that, and maybe he wants other people to go around and do that. But I don't feel like the brothers would really want to be a part of a franchise of vigilante killers around the world. I think they would, because they've already decided to leave it behind once to go herd sheep in Ireland. I don't think that their desire is to go be a part of something bigger. I think they would just be like, if you want to do that, you go right ahead, but don't do it under our name, and we don't want to be a part of it. If you want to go start a group of vigilantes, do it, but not us. We're not down.
I mean, they did say, like, I mean, Rocco said it, and they said at the end of that hilarious bit at the end of the first movie where they're like, you guys should be in every major city. I'm like, right, because as Rocco said, shit, you could do this every day, Or like you said, we should come down here once a week and clean house. I'm like, you could, but
that's what I'm saying. I don't think they want to. There's something about in their acting. I know this isn't real, but it's like there's something about their mannerisms and the way they are that they don't really necessarily want to do this. They would rather the streets be free of these kinds of people, and they wouldn't have to, and they can live normal lives. They'd be perfectly content with that. So idea of I don't think they want to do any of this. So being a part of whatever Smecker is trying to plan doesn't seem like it would be an attractive option to them.
And like when they were talking to Rocco in the car, when they kind I guess when they finally formulated their plan, they didn't even seem like they really knew what they were doing. Because, like he said, he's like, we don't really have a system for deciding anybody. Like, it just kind of happened, by accident. So I don't know. Because I think Smecker said he's like these are two ordinary guys that got put in an extraordinary situation and they came out on top. So. And now it's kind of, and the second movie is kind of the, now your hand's being forced. So again, you're like, just morally, you're like, yeah, we can't let you be doing stuff like this, in our town. So, you want to shut this guy down. And because if it's going to create something worse, like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, maybe there could be people. I mean, yeah, copycats would still be kind of weird if there was like an epidemic of them, then it'd be a problem, and then you'd have to take care of that. But I don't know.
Yeah, but whatever the third movie gives us, I want it to be an ending. If the first movie in '99 was Act 1 of this of their overall story, and this movie was Act 2, Act 3 I want to be the conclusion. After this, I want no more Boondock Saints. And I do not want anybody to remake this movie. It's like 30 years from now. I mean, 100 years from now, after Troy Duffy and everybody involved in this one's long since dead. I don't want anybody to remake this. This movie should not ever be touched.
Yeah,
this series has to stand on its own. I don't think that anybody could. Somebody eventually will, 50 years from now, be like, hey, I remember this old movie Boondock Saints that my, son used to watch when he was a teenager back in the day. I'm going to try to make this. I'm going to try to give it some modern. No, don't give it a modern thing. Don't give it a bigger budget. Don't put Brad Pitt and fucking George Clooney in the role. Don't do any of that shit. Just let these movies stand as the art that they are. Let these movies stand as they are as great storytelling. Because I guarantee if they tried to remake this, they would overproduce when they make shit. We would get the Blair Witch. We would get the Blair Witch Book of Shadows. It would never be the same thing.
Or it's like, Exorcist 2. It's like, that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, that didn't quite go the way we wanted it to. No. But, I definitely want this to be an ending. I don't want it to set up another movie. I don't want the boys to die either. I feel like if we're going to do this, let's go ahead and do it to where there's a happy ending. I mean, because look, I know it's easy to say that, they're living a life where they probably end up dying anyway. They've already been shot, put in prison at the end of this movie. So, I mean, it wouldn't be off the wall to see them die, but I don't want them to die. I want them to I want to see that. I would rather see them at the sheep farm as old men at the end of the third film with everything in the past behind them, looking back on it or whatever, than to see them, in a gracious death scene or anything like that. I feel like that would kind of ruin things.
I mean, they are saints, but also that would be a definitive end because damn well if they don't die, it's like someone's gonna be like, but someone in the back row is gonna be like, but we could bring them back. Like, don't. That's the door's right there. I know that.
I already feel like they're gonna find some way to bring like Greeny back, and I'm not just talking about like a dream sequence like you get Rocco in this. I feel like there's some way they're gonna say, oh, surprise, this person wasn't dead after all. Get the fuck out of here. Don't do the Marvel fake death cinematic universe bullshit. Let people die.
Really fucking exploded. I don't think he's walking away from that one. He just boom, just right. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, I also didn't get why they went with the whole telling everybody that Paul Smecker died. It's like it would have been better off if you just not mentioned him at all in the course of the movie and just say that he's not there and not
allude
to where he was at.
He died and now he's under a different alias, kind of just in the shadows. I'm like,
and that's fine, but wouldn't it have been I think it would have been a bigger pop. I mean, I probably would have enjoyed it more if you just don't mention him or just say that I took over for Paul Smecker and not explain where he's at all. And then you get to the scene at the end of the movie where he's sitting there on the pier fishing and they have their conversation. You're like, holy shit. It's like, there he is.
Here, yeah.
The fake death thing, sure, whatever. It works for the purposes of this movie. It's not the MCU here, but I wouldn't have done that much either. But I just want the third movie to be an ending. Mm-hmm. The boys live happily ever after. I think they deserve it. Good. They're doing the Lord's work. They're praying before they kill anybody, so they're doing the Lord's work.
See, you're right. Well, remember we did. To my point, they did literally have Indiana Jones and his dad and Sala and Brody right off in the fucking sunset at the end of Last Crusade. And that little fucker in the back row was like, But like, what if we did it with Russians? And you should have been drop kicked out of the fucking office. Like, dude. So you see what I mean? Like, if you don't, I don't know. If you don't end it, because things need, like you said, things need endings. I don't need, like, I hate that I'm going to say it. And if I call it, that's pretty damn funny. I didn't expect Hobbs and Shaw, but if we get Duffy and Dolly, the fucking Boston spinoff, like, please don't. Just don't. Like, I'm watching Suicide Squad, and I'm like, yes, my bingo card definitely had, yeah, but John Cena's character is getting his own fucking show. I'm like, what? This dickhead? Okay, sure. Whatever. You know what I mean? At least Hollywood surprises me, I guess. Not in a positive way sometimes, but
at least Hobbs and Shaw was better than the last two Fast and the Furious movies.
You know what?
Hobbs and Shaw was better than the last two Fast and the Furious movies. I expected that movie to be one gigantic joke, and it's exactly what it delivered for me. It met my expectations. Well,
it probably was. So,
but yeah, I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. What do you want Part 3 to look like? If you're a fan of this franchise, what would you do? I personally, like I said, I want a happy ending. More than anything else, I want a happy ending, and I want it to be an actual ending. No more Boondock Saints after this. The movies are like, what? You're talking about 9 years between the first one and the second one. Now you're talking about 15 years between the second one and the third one, if it comes out in the next year or two. So
I like symmetry, and my fingers were crossed when 2019 was coming up. I'm like, come on.
Duffy, what do you got?
Part 3. You got some part 3, buddy. Come on.
Well, it's something they've been talking about for a while, too. It's not like just in the last couple of years this has come up. I mean, almost immediately after this movie came out, there was like, when do we get Part 3? What's it going to look like? Because I mean, the ending, obviously, with them in the prison, hearing Smecker talk to the girl, it's like they're setting up something else when we're going to be getting as a thing. And this thing has all been kind of, I don't know, maybe Troy Duffy just hasn't felt the creative juices flowing to go back to this yet. And to which I say, good. I mean, don't just write something to write something and rush a movie out there. I mean, I want it to be great and to fit into this universe. I don't need you putting out crap just so you can say you put out a third one. I would rather you take your time and be inspired to write the next chapter of the story than just to write it just so you can get a third one out. So I don't know. Eventually we'll get it. One way or another, we're going to get it. We'll be able to talk about it. But, on to some trivia, and I'm actually really disappointed at the lack of trivia for this movie compared to the trivia we had available for the first movie. And there were some good ones, but there wasn't a great deal of it. On the money front, despite its limited release, this movie made more money in its opening weekend than the entire box office run of the original Boondock Saints film from 1999.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I guess. People know about it now at that point, so when you're expecting a sequel and you hear that and you're like, ooh, okay. This movie kind of came along in 99. You're like, what? Have you heard of it? Nope. You know what I mean?
Was Walking Dead out when this movie came out?
This one, no. That was 2010, so the year after.
Okay.
Like I said, this was right before Norman Reedus was going on to... He might have been, when this movie was out, he might have been filming that first season of Walking Dead.
Because I thought that maybe this movie would have gotten a little bit of a boost from him being in The Walking Dead. It's a little bit of name.
That was after.
If this came out before, then whatever.
Wasn't quite there yet.
Well, it may have helped in like the secondary market because this movie got a similar bump as the first movie in like DVD and video sales.
Yeah, if you start, you're like, oh, who's this Norman? Oh, we all love Daryl, and you're like, oh, he was in this movie called Boondock Saints. That's how that happened.
So that probably helped both the movies when it eventually came out.
Yeah,
but I won't ask you. I know how much you hate it when I ask you, but I will tell you that versions of the F word were only used 136 times in this movie, as opposed to 246 times in the Boondock Saints from 1999.
It's like half as much. Damn.
You wouldn't know it. Just listen to the dialogue, you wouldn't know it.
I guess we really broke the fuck bear, and that was it. Damn.
Yeah. Despite that scene. They didn't break the fuck barrier quite as much.
Again, I think Rocco held the most again for in like one run-on sentence in the first movie. So
yeah. It's fucking you fuck.
Right. He's like, that's the diversity of the word right there.
Yeah, you brought up Doc returning for this movie.
Yeah.
This was actually Jared Parks. This was actually his last movie. He reprised his role from the Boondock Saints as Doc, coincidentally the same name as the iconic character played for years in family-friendly projects with the Muppets like Fraggle Rock.
You want to talk about range?
Yeah, talk about range.
Man.
But what a great character, though.
Right. I mean, how do you not love this guy? I mean, I think we were watching this over the weekend with some friends who hadn't seen it. And Rocco just comes right in. He's like, "Hey, fuck ass, get me a beer." I'm like, "That's his character's name." Well, he's Doc, but they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Give it like 1 second. Hold on." I'm like, "You're gonna see why." And they're like, "Oh, he has Tourette's. Okay, that's fun." I'm like, "Yeah, that's." Especially when he goes into a hospital and he does it in front of a bunch of fucking nuns. Like, yeah.
I think he passed away shortly, I think a year or so after this movie came out, as I recall.
Yeah, I'm about to.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that he was lost. But I mean, what a great career, and we always have him as Doc in Boondock Saints. If that's not a true testament to a great man, then I don't know what else could be. But sure. Troy Duffy actually wrote the part of Romeo, the Saints' new sidekick, specifically for his friend Clifton Collins Jr. Coincidentally, the part of Rocco, the sidekick in the Boondock Saints in 1999, was written specifically and named for David Della Rocco.
Yeah, I always wondered. I'm like, when he goes to the computer and he says David Della Rocco, I'm like, wait, why is his name? Why? What? I had to pause. I'm like, wait a damn second. Why is that him? And they're like, oh, it's just Rocco. That's fair. Wait a minute.
Like I said, Clifton Collins Jr. should 100% be. It should be a star. I don't get it, but I mean, whatever. He's fantastic in this movie.
Doc died in 2014, apparently.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a little bit closer to the release of the movie, but still.
Well, I mean, that might have still been his last. Oh yeah, that was his last movie. Yeah, but died a few years after. Okay, I was like, damn, he didn't even get to see The Walking Dead. I hope he did.
Yeah, talk about what could have been. Tara Reid from American Pie was initially slated to play Special Agent Eunice Bloom, but ended up not getting the part.
You got a little too much Sharknado. You got a little too much Sharknado with my Boondock Saints. Okay, get out of
here. Say what you will about the acting job, but I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I mean, Van Edwards said earlier in the chat, he said, "I love this." It was like a sewing pin. The ball was like a sewing pin to balls. It's like, it could be worse. It could be like Kevin Costner trying to do a Boston accent in 13 days. I mean, that was bad. But I mean, it's kind of hard to screw up a Southern accent. But I mean, she's a great actress. I mean, I loved her in Dexter. She was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I would much rather have seen her instead of Tara Reid. Tara Reid's good for some stuff, but I don't know if this was about the time that Tara Reid was having some issues. I mean, she's had a lot of problems over the years since American Pie fame.
You made Sharknado, goddammit.
Plastic surgery go wrong. I think there may have been some alcohol-related behavioral issues.
Yeah.
But some people, they get famous and they get stupid.
She's not had it good for a while.
Yeah, another number that was cut in half. Boondock Saints 1999 had a body count of 33. This one actually doubled that number. Almost. This movie had a body count of 59.
Go big, baby.
Half the fucks, twice the death.
That should be the subtitle for this movie. Not All Saints Day. Half the fucks, twice the death. What? Just watch it.
Yeah, half the fucks, twice. That should have been a poster. Half the fucks, twice the death.
Exactly. If I were, you know what? Like I said, I still have that poster of Boondock Saints. I should get one of them to write that on there. If I ever find him like a con or something, be like half the deaths, twice the deaths, half the fucks. God, that'd be funny.
Let's see. In Noah MacManus, Sir Billy Connolly's voiceover during the where's my picture of him? Damn it, I got it somewhere else. Where's that? There it is. In his voiceover during the drug factory flashback, he says, quote, "While the wicked stand confounded, call me, with thy saints surrounded." In the Boondock Saints 1999, that line is painted above the Irish flag on the wall of the arms dealer's warehouse.
Yeah.
I think I still have that picture. Let me grab that picture real quick so I can pull it up.
Yeah, the one with the big mounted gun in the middle. Yeah. While you're looking for that, I will appreciate that. I'm like, again, when you do a movie that's now like 10 years removed from the first one, I gotta say they still look badass. Like you don't have like the clean shaven. You got like Flanery rocking like a little goatee there, and Reedus has got his little chin fuzz and his mustache. I'm like, it works. It still gives them like a little more aged, not aged. It kind of seems a little extreme to say, but a little more matured look. That they're still not to be messed with, even though again we're 10 years down the line from the last movie. Billy Connolly still looks like a badass.
Yeah,
with the there it is.
There it is.
Yep.
Yet while the wicked Saint defended, call me with thy saints surrounded. That sounds like a badass tattoo. That'd be dope.
Get that like in a, or get it in like a wrapped around like a. Fuck! Why can't I like a banner? Jesus, I can't talk today. Yeah. Get that with the Celtic cross. Huh?
I don't know if I'm Irish enough for that, though. I have a little bit of Irish background in my family, but I think it's mostly Mexican. So I don't know if I'd be able to get away with it, which probably just looks silly.
You need just like Clifton Collins. You just need something from, just need some whoop-ass fajitas. I don't know.
If I ever start a restaurant, I'm going to have whoop-ass fajitas in the menu. Let's see. When Connor and Murphy meet Rocco at the bar in their dream, a black cat walks past Rocco across the counter. The cat is a sly reference to Rocco's girlfriend's cat, Skippy, who Rocco accidentally shot and killed in the Boondock Saints.
Yep, like I said, in that weird limbo, I'm like, you see the cat run across the bar as he's pouring drinks out. I'm like, yeah, there's the cat. God damn it.
Well, Rocco and the cat both went to heaven. That's proof. It's canon now in the universe.
He said he felt like a little bit of an asshole about it, but hey, they're doing fine.
they worked their differences out in the afterlife.
Yeah. They run a bar together in heaven, apparently.
Yeah, and on the alcohol tip for all you alcohol drinkers out there, as we are, throughout the film, the Saints are shown drinking Bushmills Irish whiskey. However, Bushmills is made in Northern Ireland, which is a part of Great Britain, and hardcore Irish Catholics from the Republic do not drink Bushmills, but rather they drink Jameson Irish whiskey, which is made in Dublin.
I was gonna say it's probably Jameson, right? Oh man, some good stuff.
I need to go get me a bottle of Jameson.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I got some Baileys, but I don't have any Jameson. Damn.
We got some
I did buy some Screwball for the past weekend. That was fun.
The peanut butter whiskey?
Yeah, I did. Drew
drinks that shit like crazy. Drew Derail drinks that shit. He loves it. I get a bottle of it every now and again. I can't. I don't know. I don't like the peanut butter alcohol enough to go buy more of it.
I weirdly tried it because it's whiskey, so I'm like, well, I like Jack and Coke. So I just put like a shot of it and I put some Coke in it. I'm like, it gives it a weird, nice kind of just peanut buttery mellowed taste. I don't know. It was good.
The first time I went and bought a bottle of that, we were leaving Jennifer's dad's house, and the Kroger that's right there by his house actually has a state liquor store in the store. It's up in Inglewood. You probably know what I'm talking about. But so I rolled in there and got it, and I was talking to the guy at the counter, and he's like, if you take some like grape schnapps and mix like a shot of each, it gives it like a peanut butter and jelly flavor.
Oh, peanut butter and jelly.
And I was like, I was like, I don't feel like buying a bottle of peach schnapps because I would never fucking drink it otherwise, but I'm not a big schnapps drinker. But I was like, that's interesting. It's intriguing. I was also wondering if you could get like a chocolate liqueur, put like a little bit of that in there and give it like a peanut butter cup thing.
Reese's. Yeah, I was just thinking like maybe trying to think of what to mix. Not Bailey's, but not like a White Russian type of still like Kahlua or something. But yeah, you could do some chocolate liqueur or something, or cream to cocoa or something. Get like a Reese's flavor or something.
Yeah, I can't think of any other alcohol that I would mix that stuff with to make it a little more palatable. I just don't like it's like the alcohol and the peanut butter. To me, they don't mesh quite that well. I drank the bottle that I got, and I was like, okay, I drank it. It's I don't see myself going back in anymore.
Yeah, I'll drink this one. But
like if Drew will drink that shit, he'll drink a bottle of that shit in a weekend playing video games, or when we were doing Derail back in the day a couple of years ago. But I mean, yeah, I tried. It was all right. I would have to fiddle with it. Maybe something coconutty. Mix it with some coconut something or other. Maybe.
I'm
trying to imagine both those flavors mixing in my head. And,
yeah.
without actually
So
having it.
You're trying to make like not like an almond joy. What the no one has like peanut butter and coconut. I don't know. It'd be like a weird, or is it Mount? No, almond
Joy's got nuts. Mountains don't. Don't you remember the song?
That's
don't you ever watch TV, bro?
We stream now, man. No, I don't. Sorry, I watch The Walking Dead on TV. That's about it. That's the only thing I actually watch on TV anymore.
But yeah, I don't know. All I know is I need to restock the bar. Maybe that's something that'll happen this weekend because all I've got is a little bit of Deward Scotch up there. Got some tequila, but I'm afraid of the tequila. Me and tequila I'm Mexican. We have a past.
I'm like, you're yeah.
we have a past. I can tell you some stories that I will never ever tell you out loud. But
that's fair.
Yeah, there is some stories. But yeah, so I'm afraid of the tequila.
I'm white. I drank it once, and I will never do that shit again.
Oh
ever.
No, you gotta nurse it. Like tequila and a margarita. I had a margarita for the first time the other day. Me and Jennifer went out to dinner. Like we haven't had a whole lot of date nights lately because she's been busy doing her stuff and I've been busy at work and streaming and all that. But now that her evening schedule is freeing up a lot more, now that her Girl Scout obligations are over, because thank God cookie season is
cookie season gone.
She just said, let's go out to dinner real quick. And we went to a local Mexican restaurant right here in Beaver Creek by the mall. And I was like, I'll have a margarita. And like as soon as that stuff hit my lips, I was like, I hadn't had a margarita in so long. It's like it wasn't the best margarita I'd ever had, but I was like, just having a margarita in my mouth was like, yeah, this is it. So I was like,
he had his Clint Eastwood moment from Unforgiven. He's just like, yep, there it is. Yep. It all came flooding back.
Damn right. I ordered another one. I was like, okay. I wasn't driving. I told Jennifer she had to drive. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have one margarita just because I want it. Because I'm a grown up and
I had tequila straight like an idiot. That's probably why. That was a bad idea.
It's one thing to have like one shot just to have it. Well, when my dad passed away, we did tequila shots. We did tequila shots that day, me and my son, just to have it, to pay respects. But that was one shot, and I wasn't drinking a whole lot after that. But yeah, I've only had tequila I think since then. I think once.
Yeah,
I had a one shot, and I was like, it's done. If I have that second shot, it's over. This night's gonna end very, very badly for me. No more. Jennifer likes Patron. She likes the expensive tequila.
Ooh, that's the top shelf.
It's good tequila, but it's like that's trouble. And then you got Mezcal, the stuff that has the actual silkworm in it. That tastes like battery acid for the first couple shots.
Ooh.
And then, but after that, after the first couple of shots, you don't even taste it anymore. It's because
you probably don't care at that point.
Because the battery acid at that point has burned your taste buds, and you don't really care how bad it tastes. But that's
I'll stick to my whiskeys.
That's man tequila right there. Like only Mexicans drink mezcal. White people try, they don't make it.
I wouldn't even try. No,
it's rough stuff, man. It is rough stuff. But now that we're done talking to you about our alcoholic adventures, we'll go ahead and start to wrap this thing up. Give me your final thoughts on Boondock Saints II All Saints Day.
I will say, in terms of sequels, it is a good sequel. I would not put it above the first one, but it doesn't hold a low score with me. So I mean, I hated to say the middle of the line political answer of like, no, they're both good movies. When you look at them in retrospect, like for what they were at the time they were made. This one, like I said, it gives a backstory to the dad, which again, you have someone that has a mythos built up that much in the first film. You're like, what is this dude's deal? Like, holy crap. You made this guy like, he's an absolute unstoppable force. And you kind of see that. You see how that comes to fruition, especially in the end with Peter Fonda. So it was done right, and it was done very well. And something that can be a stylized, just gratuitous violence of a movie. It was a fun ride. And as for a third movie, I mean, I'm kind of excited. I've wanted to see it for a long time. Ever since I discovered these movies, I mean, I don't know, 15. No, how old am I? No, younger than that. Maybe about 10-ish years ago. I forgot how old I am. Yeah, it was probably a little more than like 10 years ago. And I watched them and I was like, damn, these are pretty fun. So the second one grew on me, and it's definitely worth a watch, like I said. And if we get a third and it's a complete trilogy, I can be happy with that.
Yeah, I agree with the political answer. Like I said, they're both good in different ways for different reasons. Mm-hmm. I agree with you that I think the first movie is better. It's my favorite of the two. Yeah. But again, this movie is still solid. I mean, once we do eventually get that third movie, whether it's in the next couple of years or whether it's when we're old men laying in our deathbeds, I have a feeling that it's going. If Duffy really is trying to wait for the right creative motivation to write this, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a fitting send off to the brothers. It'll be a fitting send off to the story that he's created. I think it's going to be good when we eventually get it. Hopefully, it'll be soon. I think this movie is good. I think it's. I mean, just as a movie on the surface, it's as good as the first one. It hits a lot of the same beats. It's got a lot of the same characters in it. The boys really are the core of the story. And you do get to see a lot more of Billy Connolly's character. You get to examine him a lot. You do get a little bit of the background of the family. Again, what brings the boys to this particular situation that they're in this film. There is a story that builds up from before they were born that they don't know about, that they hadn't had any part of. There is a lineage here that they are a part of, and it explains that to you in this movie. And I think it's really cool how they did it. It wasn't, I mean, the exposition dumps happened, but I mean, it wasn't so in your face or stupid. I actually really liked the pacing of the movie. I thought it was pretty good. It was good storytelling by Matt Duffy. I thought it was great. Or Troy Duffy. It was good storytelling by Troy Duffy. So, I mean, I can't knock this movie at all. I mean, the first one is better, I think. If you said you can watch one or the other tonight while you're, drinking beer and doing whatever, I'd probably watch the first one. But it's still a very good movie. Very good movie indeed.
Never thought I'd be terrified of a man that has a butterfly a tattoo of a butterfly on his hand. I'm like, he's a scary dude. So
don't let the butterfly tattoo fool you. He has murdered a lot of people, like a lot of people.
He has a vest with 6 guns on it. So
yeah, I want that vest. I mean, if there's any cosplay that you need to get me hooked up with, I want that vest. I wouldn't even know where to begin to put some shit like that together.
You know what? Just grow your beard out. We'll get you a little like Santa Claus looking wig, and we'll just give you the cigar and the glasses and just 6 guns in there. That's all you need.
That'd be dope as hell.
Oh yeah.
One would have to be a real gun though. I have to be armed at all times. I can't leave my bedroom unless I'm armed. The world's getting too messed up, man. You start to understand what the Saints were getting into.
I can say, this is what they were saying.
That's the whole point. Oh. But yeah, I agree with you. The first one is better, but both these movies are very, very good. I think they work very well together. You can watch these movies back to back and they fit.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies there's so many like back to back movie sequels that sometimes they don't work very well with one another. But you can watch both these movies back to back over the course of 4 or 5 hours, and these movies go well together. They fit. They're good together.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of sequels tend to lose.
Right. You still notice that there was a time period between them, and it's like, I know I lived through that, but I don't want to feel like I did. It should just be a continuation.
Yeah, but that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Hopefully for the next stream, we will have the full cast and crew. Tex wasn't able to make it tonight, but we're confident that he's going to be back soon. Cora, she's still in the middle of dealing with stuff, going back and forth, moving from state to state, so she's working all that out. Kenton will be back on at some point, I'm sure, either filling in for one of them or just hanging out for whatever crazy movie we want to talk about next. But I do want to thank my hetero life mate, Jeremy, for coming in and breaking down this movie with me. Of course, one of the movies that, like, me and him, I say it all the time, me and Jeremy communicate in our private lives in movie quotes. This is one of the movies that we're constantly just like bringing that into that dialogue into our daily conversations. This, Anchorman, Super Troopers, so many other great movies. That's how we communicate.
If it's not Kevin Smith, Anchorman, or Boondock Saints, it's something.
Yeah, Kevin Smith wrote the story of our lives at some point. He just doesn't know it. But where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
I'm here Tuesday and Thursdays. Same bat time, same bat channel. The name's right there on everything. Yeah, you figure it out. I don't. I've been wanting to do the remastered version of Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2, but it is getting absolutely dunked on the internet. I'm apparently of the minority, which I thought was the majority, that wanted it just for the single player and for the, split screen, couch multiplayer, as it was known for back in 2005. But nope, everything's got to be online, everything's got to be Fortnite these fucking days. I'm like, I didn't buy it for that. So maybe I'll do the story mode, but it's kind of all I got going on.
He's a better content creator than he gives himself credit for. He just needs to be more consistent. But
go looking for it. You won't find anything. I don't know. I unironically, I'm like, you know what? It's an election year, but if I put it out there, I'm not old enough for this one, but I mean, for the next one, I'm old enough. And if I start going out there dressing like President Loki, and I'm like, if you just vote for me just for the lulz,
here's what we should do when you do finally hit the age of 35, which is a long way off for you. And by
the next one, I'm saying by the next one, I will be old enough.
Yeah. So I think what we should do is we should do like a viral campaign. We'll just dress you up as President Loki. We'll film some campaign spots. I've already thought to put you into the debates.
I know, like I could just candidly walk down like some city street, just like talking to the. What I mean? I've thought about this, so yeah, it's starting to like not be ironic in my head. I'm like, no, I don't ironically do this. Which, if you've read the short comic, that is kind of the point. He just did it to do it because it's Loki. Of course, he did. I'm scared that I'm like, I know how the internet works, and if it doesn't become a joke, and I'm like, oh, I actually have to do something now. Shit. Okay. So, be gent.
So,
my mom did. My mom came out with that.
Just don't say that. See it sort of pissed off.
That's messed up. Thanks for that. Good to know I've got everyone's vote. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I walk around cons and people say, I'll vote for you. I'm like, I mean, what else would you do, right? And they're like, right.
Nothing wrong with it. We were going to do something like that for me on Derail. It's like we were going to kind of like jokingly try to like make like I was going to be like the right-in candidate, and we were going to try to make some videos over on Drew's channel, like me giving speeches and answering some of the questions I got in the debates. And it never, I think we were kind of in the initial stages of like figuring out if we wanted to do that or not, and then Drew decided to change his channel to gaming, and that kind of went to the wayside. Whatever, we'll put you out there as President Loki. We'll do it. I'm game.
It's funny. I went to a con and there was the homeless Jeffrey. Somebody had like the Jeffrey where he's all like disheveled. He's got the cigarette in his mouth, and I was like. He's like, screw Amazon. They put me out of a job. Buy from a local toy store, kids. And I was like, do you want to be my running mate? And he was like, you know what? Hell yeah. It's like Loki and Jeffrey, 2024. I was like, sure. So Jeffrey, I don't know who that was. Jeffrey from Toys R Us, if you're out there, man. I got you.
Let's go. I'll get bumper stickers made and everything. Let's go.
Oh, man. Then awkwardly, I think Toys R Us kind of had a comeback. So, but
yeah, they're trying.
He needs that little extra push. So, we'll take down Bezos.
Let's get Jeffrey back out there in the mainstream. Damn it.
Yeah.
As for me, you can find me here. We will be here on Tuesday. We're gonna do Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It's out on HBO Max now, so you guys can watch it there. We're gonna go ahead and break that movie down because. Our first stream of next month will be a DCEU retrospective. Now that the entire Snyderverse is out, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom was the official last movie of the Snyderverse that is going to be released. We're gonna have kind of a roundtable discussion. It's gonna be our normal crew plus American Werewolf New Jersey said that he'd want to come on. He's the big DCEU Snyderverse fan. We'll have him here to make sure he can give a full-throated defense of everything he likes about the DCEU and everything Zack Snyder did. I'll be honest, objective as I can be. I liked things about it. I didn't like things about it, but we're gonna finish up that with Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. We have a couple more reviews between these two, and then we're gonna do a DCEU retrospective to begin next month. So a little bit different, but we'll be doing it.
Thursday or Tuesday? Aquaman.
What is today?
Today's Tuesday.
So Thursday is Aquaman.
I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm getting mixed up. Thursday. Okay. 48 hours from now, we're talking about Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. But yeah, and then next month we'll be doing the DC retrospective, and then of course there's going to be a bunch of other stuff coming out next month. Godzilla versus Kong comes out, Fallout comes out next month. We're breaking those down. We'll figure out how we're going to break those down. I don't know if we'll do 2 episodes at a time or 4 episodes at a time over 2 videos. We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. But
I'll spend all day watching the show. I'll break something down for you.
I kind of want to watch the first couple episodes to see, because there's a lot to talk about. I kind of want to do it in fewer episodes at a time.
Yeah.
Well, depending on how the show goes.
I will drone on for like an hour just on one thing with that. So just you be the guy with the buzzer, time me like, all right, your time's up, sir. 2 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. I want to watch the first couple episodes before I commit to exactly how we're going to break it down.
Don't let me. I'll be like freaking the fuck out every like 2 minutes. Like, oh my God, this happened. Holy crap. You understand it.
Yeah, but I am eager to see it, because it does look really, really interesting. I'm eager to see it. I'm eager for Jeremy to pick it apart, compare it to the game, and how it's similar and just not the same, things like that. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. But thanks to everybody who came and hung out with us tonight. BJ here as always. Dr. Nick was in here. Casey, what's up? Oh, real quick before I forget, the Thurman is Raw shirt is up on the Spreadshirt store for the channel. I will tell you this right now. I hate the design. It's up there for right now. I needed something that fit inside the parameters. Like, my problem with some of the shirts we have up there, the designs on the shirt are really kind of small. So, and I want to make them a little bit larger. So I'm going to mess with some of the designs on there. I don't really like the Thurman is Raw design that I made. I'm going to try to put another one together at some point here in the next few days. But there is one up on the site right now. If you want to get it, it will not be there forever. Once I get one a design that I like that will fit on the shirt the way I want it to, that's the one that I will leave up for a month, and then it'll go away. So if you want the Thurman is Raw terrible version that I threw together because it fit on the shirt the way I want it to, go get it now. Go get it now. I actually ordered. We also, since we're going to be doing Real Genius, was it next week? Next Tuesday we'll be doing Real Genius. Actually, the I Love Toxic Waste shirt from the cover of the film that Val Kilmer wears actually in the movie. I made one of those that actually has the channel logo in the middle of the heart. I actually ordered one myself. Hopefully it will be here in time for us to do that review. I'm not 100% sure it will be. Hopefully it will be. If not, I may push that review back just so I can have the shirt on to wear when we're doing the review. But yeah, so there's a couple things up there. I've thrown a few things up there. I like a couple of designs. The movie tickets, I kind of like that one, but I want to make that one a little bit bigger as well. So go into the description down below is the link to our Spreadshirt merch store. There's some stuff in there. If you want to support the channel, do it like that. The Thurman is Raw shirt is in there, but I'm going to change the design. So if you want the crappy one, go buy it. It won't be up there for very long. I want a better design, something befitting of Casey, because Casey's, look, behind the scenes, Casey's in on it. I asked him about it. I said, can I do this? He said, yeah, let's do it. Let's have fun with it. So I want to make sure it's a good shirt, one that he would want to wear himself. I'll obviously buy one and send it to him. But yeah, I want to have a good design up there. So I'll work on a better design, one that I think it looks better on the shirt, because I want something better than what I've got. But I've got one up there now.
Shit, I'll take a sticker of it.
You know what though? The stickers are actually really cool. I want to go to one of the there's some sticker websites that you can go to where you can order stickers in bulk. I actually want to go on one of those and like get some channel logos and some other stuff on stickers, because I actually like the stickers. They're pretty cool.
That channel logo would make a really good, just simple round sticker to put on shit. Yeah. Yeah.
But I definitely want to do some stickers too, but we'll get to that. I'm kind of putting together the merch store as the channel grows a little bit. It'll just be there for when, if we hit the 1 million subscriber mark and people actually want to buy our merch. And then now I need this for Jeremy to design me something cool that I can put on a t-shirt.
I was rolling around an idea to make a Hellfire Club, but I'd made it the Harsh Truth Club. I was trying, and I just couldn't get it. There's a lot of moving parts to that one. I know I just made a political answer again. There's a lot of moving parts. That's really hard. But I was trying to make it right. Okay. I was like looking at the shirt, looking at like my design. I'm like, oh shit, there's so many things in here I need to put without being too crowded. So
yeah, but if you guys want the Thurman is Raw that's up there now, go get it. It won't be up there for very long. I want to make a design that I'm happier with, that looks better, that I'm prouder of. And something that Casey can be proud of. That's the important part, because he's allowing this to happen. He's being really cool about it. So I want to make something Casey can be proud to wear. But yeah, we will see you guys on Thursday as we break down Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and Jeremy is going to tell us about how much he loves Amber Heard and how she should have played a bigger role in the movie, and she should have been the lead. She should have been around her, not Aquaman. Should have been about her, not Aquaman. He's gonna tell us how much he loves Amber Heard. And adios. I mean,
I will wear my Jack Sparrow pirate hat and I'll break out some rum and I'll tell you all about her. No.
You don't have to tell us all about her. We all watched the trial. We know. We know who she is.
We saw it. She shit the bed and her dog stepped on a beach.